You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. It's good to have you back here in part 2 of our Cabral HouseCalls. We're going to get started in just a minute, taking our community's questions that have come in over the past couple of weeks. We are still moving through September's questions, beginning today with September 21st. So hopefully you tuned in as well yesterday, where we went over a bunch of questions on the show. We talked about creatine supplement loading. We talked about caffeine and panic attacks and why that might be. We talked about celiac disease. We talked about branch retinal vein occlusion. We talked about childhood birth-based issues, and we talked about food intolerances versus food allergies, and if you can ever overcome them. So hopefully that was beneficial yesterday. We've got a bunch more questions today. Typically, we're able to answer somewhere between 5 and 10 questions per show, about 10 to 20 questions per weekend, every weekend. And my team is still working on it. We're finding out how many questions we've answered over the past almost 4 years on the Cabral Concept. So we're still going strong. We're going to keep going strong right into the new year as well. So hopefully you're with me. Let's get into today's first question from Keri. It says, "Hi, Dr. Ball. I'm a new listener. Really been appreciating the wisdom you share on your podcast. I'm hoping you'll be able to give me some insight on some long struggles with digestive issues. I have multiple bowel movements each day, which sounds great, except that I have to go. It's so urgent. It means that I've developed anxiety if I'm not near a bathroom between 6 and 11 a.m. It makes commuting a nightmare. When I go, it seems to be complete bowel movement, but within 30-45 minutes, I have to go again. Initially, it was normal stools. Then it turned to diarrhea and yellowish stools at times, and also undigested food in the stool. I have chronic to mild transient pain under my right rib. In fact, sometimes I notice the pain less, but will notice the entire right side of my body from the shoulder to the hip is clenched up. Functional medicine testing resulted in me doing herbal protocol. I'm not going to go through the exact labs, making dietary changes, gaps which made significantly worse. I have a flare-up that almost led to an ER visit. I'm on a lower FODMAP, which leads to very mild improvements. Appreciate your guidance, whatever it may be, realizing you cannot give medical advice, even if it's just to tell me to order more tests or research supplement. I'm grateful." Okay, so for sure, we can work on this. I mean, again, we've seen every digestive issue known to man and woman. So, I get where you're coming from. And so when I work with someone like you in my practice and any one of my health coaches, because we've now done this many times and it's mainly my health coaching team, and then they bring me questions if there's any questions. So I would always do a series of experiments and questions with you. I would ask, if you have no food for breakfast, do you still have to go to the bathroom multiple times between 6 and 11? How many bowel movements do you have if you don't eat? Is it just one, or is it multiple as well? If you had a smoothie, how many would it be? If you just had a dry piece of toast, not that I'm recommending toast for breakfast, how many bowel movements would you have? And if it's always the same, okay, then I'm not looking at necessarily just the digestive system, but actually a neurological issue that could be causing an increased peristaltic movement, because whether you eat or don't eat, you have multiple bowel movements, right? So I need to know that first, right? So then after that, what I say is, okay, it's only with food. Okay, so now I get it. It's some food is triggering, again, the increased peristaltic movement, but there's also potentially something going on with your liver and gallbladder. You get the pain under your right side of your rib, and you're seeing bile in your stool. But that's not uncommon because your bowel transit time is so fast, the bile, that yellowish greenish stuff, is not being reuptaken back to the gallbladder liver. And the reason it isn't is that your bowel movements are happening too fast, right? The food's undigested. So that's not abnormal. What we need to figure out is it H. pylori? Is it Clostridium difficile? Is it Candida overgrowth? Is it H. pylori? Or is it parasites? That's what I'm looking at. If it's neurological, well, then I need to work on this AM anxiety and whatever nerve trigger there is that's causing this. So my recommendation is this, because I'd love to be able to help you to a greater degree, is if you run the complete Candida metabolism and vitamins test, also known as the organic acids test, and the parasite and bacteria stool test with us, we'll be able to develop a plan for you based on that, right? I would love you to run the whole big 5 plus the stool. But if you can't, I understand it. Just prioritize based on the labs that I just gave you right there. Run the minerals and metals test as your third, food sensitivity, then omega-3. And I mean, I'd love you to run the thyroid adrenal hormone, but again, you do the big 5 plus the stool if you can. If not, I would do them in the order I just gave you. And that's how we'll work it, right? We need to figure out what's causing this. So if we don't know what's causing it, then we're simply just guessing, right? So that's why I always say, don't guess, test when it's severe, when you really need to figure it out, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, there is a way out, and it is at-home lab testing, whether it's with your local functional medicine doctor that's skilled in this, because remember, the protocol is what matters, not the lab results. Anybody can order you a lab. Well, they have to be a doctor, but any doctor can order you a lab. But do they know what to do based on the results? That's what matters, right? So, all right, there we go. Lisa's up next. Hi, Stephen. I would love to get your thoughts on egg freezing. Apologies, but it is rather urgent as I need to make a call to start the first week of October. I'm super sensitive to medication and wondering how my body would go with the hormones and general anesthetic. I'm currently completing IHP level 2 and even had a reaction to FM detox on day 2 and not being able to stomach the shake. Really appreciate your guidance. Many thanks, Lisa. Okay, Lisa, I mean, there's multiple things that are going on, right? If your liver is overwhelmed or your digestive system can't handle, the nutrients on an empty stomach, we need to look at digestion as well. So, and I apologize as well because it's it's not the last week, but it's the second to last week of October. So the time seems like it's already passed. Do keep in mind on Ask Cabral, it says that it's typically a 6-week to 10-week turnaround time from when I'm able to answer these questions. But every day, everybody can head on over to cabralsupportgroup.com and they can ask questions right over there, typically 24-hour to 48-hour turnaround maximum. Okay, so let's help you, though, either way. It's not that far out. So we'd want to make sure we are doing some type of detox, right? Because if you're going under anesthesia and if you're having additional hormones put in, there's a way to do the detox for everyone. So for you, it simply might be following the days 3 through 7 meal plan and not doing your FM and AYU capsules until you have a whole food meal, right? So there's always a way around this. Or maybe instead of just doing the shake, powder, and water in the morning, you make a smoothie in the morning. And then you do your AYU and FM capsules there. You might just not be able to do it on an empty stomach because of a weakened digestive system or many other reasons. This isn't common, but for sure, I mean, we've seen everything, right? We've seen it just because we've been in practice. When you're in practice for so long, you just end up seeing everything because you see so many people. It's just, it's obviously just a time and experience thing. So I'm happy to help. So yes, the functional medicine detox is great. Doing the sauna will help. A little like cardio to sweat will help. Doing dry brushing will help. Doing your own self-massage, manual of drainage. And you've learned a lot about this in level 2. So congrats on getting into level 2. Keep up the great work. And I hope that this has been helpful in some way for you. All right. So Cindy's up next. Hi, Dr. Brawl. Thank you for all you do. I'm a longtime listener. I'm a perimenopausal woman, 46 years old, with hypothyroidism for 25 years. But I only started feeling symptoms around age 40. I used to live in a moldy house. I have had issues with hot flashes on and off since about 40 as well. For the past few months, I have not had any hot flashes while I'm taking a dropper of chaste tree berry daily. I avoid gluten and cow dairy, tested gluten issue, both genetically and food sensitivity. I have a lack of energy since 2016, but I'm feeling more like myself, full of life. One issue, my libido is low. I want to have the same level as my husband, but I am lacking much of this area. I've been doing the fake it until you make it for too long now. I want the same vitality that my husband has. I want it for him. I want it for me. But I also want it naturally. Please tell me how. Best regards, trying to keep up with, and I'm not going to put the person's name because we try to keep this anonymous, but our husband's name. So Okay, well, Sydney, let's help you out because, again, we do this all the time in my practice, and it's one of a couple of my favorite things to work on are digestion, female and male hormones, and doing it from a natural-based perspective. So you can really fix these things. You honestly can. So what we look at and what we talk about all the time in my practice is bioindividuality. There's only one test that we need you to run. We would love you to run the Big Five. Don't get me wrong. We would love you to run the Big Five. But if you can only choose one so that we can help you specifically, it would be that thyroid adrenal hormone. And the new name for that lab, because it's no longer named that, if you go to equilibriumnutrition.com, let me just find it because I don't have it memorized myself except for the mood and stress part of it. Let's see. We renamed the labs and we did it very simply for our customers and audience. People don't know what an organic acids test is, but they do know what candida, metabolism, and vitamins are. So that's what we renamed it, very simply, right? So the thyroid adrenal hormone test is now called the Complete Stress, Mood, and Metabolism Test, and it comes with a 30-minute health coaching call. So what happens is when you run that lab, I get the results, I read the results with my health coaching team, we develop a plan for you, and we give you exactly what you need. Now, if you have low estrogen, and you have lower progesterone, and you have lower testosterone, and lower DHEA, then we give you a specific plan to help you boost those levels naturally. So we don't give estrogen, and we're not necessarily going to give you progesterone, but we can give you very specific herbs. You mentioned one, which is chaste tree berry. It's not the only one out there, but it's a good one. So we use those in conjunction with others to boost your hormones so that you're feeling great naturally. And we do that without the potential cancer-based effects of people supplementing with supplemental hormones such as estrogen or testosterone. Okay? So Cindy, that's what I recommend at least to get started because you need to know your levels. If not, supplementing is just a guess right now for these specific ones such as, things that promote estrogen, that promote testosterone, or promote even DHEA, right? So we can do that, and we can do it very scientifically, even if we just have that one lab. Cindy is up next. Potentially the same Sydney. Who knows? All right. So, hi, Dr. Ball. It's me again. Oh, it is Cindy. There we go. See, I really don't read these questions ahead of time. These are just off the cuff, as if you and I were having a conversation, which is how I like it to be, right? Okay. I practice intermittent fasting for 12 to 18 hours for over a year. I've completed several Cabral detox protocols and another 2-week detox protocol. I'm just not going to name the person's name, even though they're great. I've also completed a SIBO protocol, just finished the heavy metal detox, and we'll be starting the mold protocol today. About 2 weeks ago, I started drinking the smoothie, put some blueberries, some ashwagandha, almond milk, a little bit of ice. Then about 5 hours later, I ate a salad with avocado, some nuts and seeds. 5 hours later, I ate a variety of things for dinner. After about a week, I was getting really hungry within a couple hours of eating. I already know the answer to this. All right. You seem to crave protein. I was just going to say that. I cannot seem to get enough. I have not gained any weight, but really should start focusing on losing 20 pounds of fat. I believe a healthy body will not store fat. So much I have focused on health and I'm healthier because of it, but I'm not lean machine. My husband, please tell me, why am I so hungry? Even when I eat well, I feel so hungry. It is easier not to eat because once I get over one hungry feeling, the hard part is over. With eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I really am hungry in between meals, yet I'm eating quality meals. This morning I woke up a few minutes before my alarm, stomach growling. Should I start monitoring my blood sugar? Trying to understand. Hungry Cindy. Okay. Long question, but I get it. I totally know where you're coming from. Yes, and you're not getting enough protein. And I've answered this on a previous podcast. If you are hungry, within an hour or two after eating, almost always you didn't eat enough protein at the meal before. Yes, sometimes it's fiber and carbs. Yes, sometimes it's not enough fat. But almost always there's not enough protein at that meal. So I can't even remember the podcast I did it on anymore. Hopefully you'll go back, you'll listen to the previous podcast. But I gave a really simple formula. You do the daily nutritional support shake in the morning. You make a nice smoothie out of it. And Cindy, for the sake of your thyroid, you have low thyroid because you just wrote in the last question. You need to run that lab. I mean, you have to run that lab because fasting for that long is most likely starting to shut down your thyroid as well. We can't fast for that long. Not every day. We can do it once a week for a 24-hour, but not every day. So, okay, we're going to fast for 12 to 14 hours a day for you. Then we're going to do the smoothie. It could be at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whenever you decide. That's your breakfast. Yeah, but 4 hours later, we're going to do lunch. Now, if we do the DNS in the morning, the daily nutritional support shake, we have 15 grams of protein in it. Great. We don't need to overdo protein, but we need protein. It is important. It's what rebuilds your body. And that includes, Cindy, you need those for your hormones, right? You can't be fasting that long and expect your libido to be up either. Your body's in a state of survival. You just told it didn't have any food. Every day you're telling your body, hey, no food for 18 hours out of your 24-hour day. You only get food for 6 hours a day. Doesn't work that way. All right. Because your body will slow metabolism, right? So we need to boost your metabolism over months, not days. Okay. So how could you get 15 grams of protein at lunch? 3 tablespoons of hemp hearts, palm-sized piece of fish, palm-sized piece of chicken if you wanted to, a big cup of chickpeas and beans, right? So there are ways to do it. And then the same for dinner. That's all you're doing, right? 3 meals a day. Spread them out, 4 hours. They can be 5 hours apart, whatever you'd like to do. Breakfast will be closer to lunch. You'll drink your smoothie over the course of an hour. And then you'll do lunch, and then you'll do dinner. All right. You'll be able to do this, no doubt about it. Add more protein. Do not deprive yourself of food. If you deprive yourself of food, I'm not saying go overboard in calories, but if you deprive yourself, your body will slow metabolism. No doubt about it. Yvonne's up next. Yvonne says, hi, Dr. Cabral. Is putting oils in your navel a real Ayurvedic remedy, or is this just a craze? I've never heard you mention it before. I loved the IHP level 1 and level 2 certification. I appreciate your time, knowledge, and passion you share. Well, yeah, Ayurveda does actually put oil in your navel, but it's not a predominant treatment that they do. They use oil as a form of medicine in Ayurveda. So let me give you why someone might do it. They call them the medicines. When I was over, it was the medicine. I'm going to give you the medicine. It was oil oftentimes, and we call them oil decoctions. And I can't say I had the pleasure of doing it. I was in a kitchen in the back with about 16, 18 burners making all sorts of different oil-based decoctions, some to keep the bowels moving. We did that a lot with people over in the clinics. People's bowels moving 3, 4, 5 times a day to get those toxins out as we were doing our panchakama. But let's talk about why, because I could talk about that all day. So why oil in the navel? Well, Ayurvedic oils are different. They infuse them with herbs. And so what you're doing by infusing these with herbs, it's very specific. You don't just drop herbs in oil. It doesn't work. You cook them in the oil. You actually mix it with water and oil, and you cook it down. The water evaporates, and you do it again, and it makes this very concentrated oil. And I can picture it right now, these burnt pans in the back. Not that they were burning it, but these pans were used for like decades, and they were just blackened. But anyway, so you can put it in your navel or around the belly, and it actually will absorb through the skin. And sometimes you would actually make this dough, and you would make what's like a little swimming pool or a dam, and it would allow the oil to absorb down into the stomach area and actually near the intestines. So we would do that with a sesame oil base or a castor oil base that was great for intestinal issues or constipation. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what you're talking about because I never hear anybody talk about putting oil in their navel. But oil for sure can work great. I mean, I use it during the wintertime in Boston. Dry heat in a lot of these apartment and condo buildings. And what I do is before bed and sometimes in the morning, I put a little bit of what's called Nasya oil, Nasya, Nasya oil. And I just put a drop or two and I suck it into my nasal passages and I massage it around in there to keep them lubricated. Because if they dry out, well, you don't have as much mucus, you don't have as much white blood cells. You can also get rebound mucus as well from it being too dry. You can get bleeding of the nose, weakens your immune system. So that's probably way more information than you wanted. But Yvonne, you deserve it being an IHP level 1 and level 2. All right, we've got Laima up next, Laima. Hello, my nephew, who is 15 years old, has Gilbert's syndrome. What would you suggest in this case? Many thanks. Well, I don't know. I believe I answered this question before. Let me check. Okay, so it looks like I previously answered it, and you can always go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and simply type in your search word, in this case, Gilbert's. Some people pronounce it Gilbert's, but it's Gilbert, and I believe it's Gilbert's. And this is some people believe it's actually caused by a virus. It usually doesn't even onset until puberty or so. I think a lot of times actually in more males, but it is a more mild genetic-based disorder, and it doesn't allow for the processing of bilirubin to the same degree. So for bile, bilirubin. So sometimes you can look a little bit more jaundice if your body is not absorbing that as well. Here's what we do. We make sure that someone's not on a high-fat diet, that they don't eat a lot of fried foods, that they do not drink alcohol, or if they do, that it's very infrequent and a very small amount. And they also keep up with their liver detoxification, as well as having 1 to 2 bowel movements per day, just to keep the circulation and cycle of bile going through the body. If you're able to, and you check with your doctor, then you might be able to do a functional medicine detox as well, but that will be between you and your doctor. So typically this causes no issues, like it can be completely harmless and not cause any issues, but of course you will want to you'll run bilirubin and you'll run your liver enzyme tests, and you'll just make sure that your lipid panel and your triglycerides, all of those things always look well, so that there's no issues surrounding the liver in general. But for the most part, in my opinion, not something I would be very worried about. You just have to look at, it's simply a hand that your nephew is dealt in life. It can always be worse. And for the most part, he's going to live a completely normal and healthy life with just being careful of not looking to overload the liver with a lot of medications or alcohol or fried food or high-fat diet, anything that would tax the liver. So hopefully that was helpful today. Lema, thank you for writing in. I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone listening. And thank you so much for reviewing the Cabral concept. We're almost at that 1,000 reviews. If you haven't left a review on iTunes or your favorite player yet, I would love for you to do that. Simply put, I read those reviews all the time on a weekly basis, and I read every single one. They give me a lot of energy. They charge me up to keep on pushing forward with the Cabral concept. So if you're able to do that, that would be much appreciated. But either way, I'm going to keep going, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing this show with anyone you believe it can serve. Take care, and don't forget, every Monday we have our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Hopefully you tune in to that show. I'll talk with you tomorrow. Take care. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.